Students, let us continue. Students, let us continue with the balance of payment curve derivation and its graphic interpretation. Now, I was yesterday telling you about the situation of BP curve. Now, to explain more about the situation of BP curve, let us consider a four-panel diagram that I am going to construct, because that diagram will reflect ultimately the capital account as well as the what do you say, current account, and that will help to derive the balance of payment curve. Let us consider this four-panel diagram. I have four panels. All right. Uh, I'm having rate of interest and level of income combination in this. I will number the panel, say panel A, panel B, panel C, and panel D. So I have four panels. In panel B, I am having a rate of interest and income combination. Uh, Panel D is just a combination of income with income. Just want to convert the axis. Okay, I rotate the axis rather. Here I'm having in panel C the combination of exchange rate and level of income. Okay, basically panel C will be a derivation of current account, and obviously here we have rate of interest R and exchange rate E in panel A, right? Now what I'm going to have is uh, foreign flow curve, a foreign flow curve in panel A that represents my capital account. We can say that foreign flows is the combination of interest rate and exchange rate, locus of different combinations of interest rate and exchange rate. Why it is negatively sloping? Because a lower interest rate, if a lower exchange rate means lesser competitive current account, because your exports are lesser competitive. Lesser exchange rate means you will import more, and there will be deficit in current account. Since there will be deficit in current account, we have to increase the interest rate so as to attract more foreign capital, because of which some surplus can be generated into capital account. So this foreign flow curve has been drawn as a combination of exchange rate and level of interest rate for given level of income, say Y bar. Okay, okay. We can say that it's for Y node level of income, right? Then we have foreign flows, net exports, current net exports with line or curve. This is basically the locus of different combinations of income and exchange rate. at which current account is balanced. Okay, at which current account is balanced. Okay, obviously to the right, nx is greater than 0. Okay, to the right, net exports are in surplus. Okay, because to the right, exchange rate is more. When exchange rate is more, imports will be negatively affected. That means import will be discouraged. When imports will be discouraged, ultimately given the constant exports, your net export surplus will be generated. To the left, we have current account deficit. Okay, because when exchange rate is less, more imports means current account will be in deficit. So nx less than 0 means current account is in deficit. Nx greater than 0 means current account is in surplus, right? Similarly, the balance of payment curve is drawn for this is the balance of payment curve, BP curve. Okay, the locus of different combinations of this BP curve is drawn for exchange rate E naught that is given to us. Okay, obviously this is a 45-degree line. We are using this line to change the axis. 45-degree line. Okay. It's a 45-degree line used to convert the axis. So 44-degree angle is used to convert the axis. Like in panel B, income is on x-axis. Since we want to convert income on y-axis, a 45-degree line will be observed because the movement will be a movement of a variable with its own will be plotted on a straight line starting from origin. So this is just axis. See, we can observe that if foreign flows are if there is some deficit in this current account, that deficit can be covered up with surplus in capital account, and so balance of payment can be balanced. Uh, Probably sometime both can be balanced. These four panel diagram represents foreign flow curve, the net exports curve, the balance of payment curve, and obviously one line is the 45-degree line. So this is a four panel diagram that we use to represent the BP curve situation. BP is obviously uh, in deficit. I told you yesterday if we are at the right point, and BP will be surplus in surplus if we are to the left of balance of payment. Uh, why this is the case? Because if suppose we are at point say let it be point let it be point M. Let us suppose we are at point M. Now, if I talk about point M, BP deficit is there. Why BP deficit? At point M, BP will be in deficit because if I draw a curve, means if I draw lines like this, interest rate is this much, right? This much is interest rate, R naught. So at R naught, income is more. Say this R naught is basically given for Y naught income level. Uh, the foreign flow cost is for Y naught income level, and this is Y naught. What will happen? Uh, this Y naught will create a problem that this is Y naught. So this is drawn for Y naught. Exchange rate is this is Y naught, and Y naught from here. Yeah, this much is Y naught, right? Let us suppose this is Y naught level of income, and this Y naught is appearing here in panel D, and with 45-degree line we are converting this Y naught to this point. Y naught is coming here, okay? This Y naught is coming here, and for this Y naught, let us suppose the rate of interest is this much. Uh, Let us suppose exchange rate E naught is given as like this. Okay. Yeah. Uh, what is happening here? For Y naught FF curve, this much is the you know this we can observe. Uh, yeah, yeah. This much is the deficit in current account, while this much surplus is generated in capital account. But issue is this much of surplus is not sufficient to overcome the deficit in current account, and so the balance of payment deficit to this tune has been observed. You can see the difference. Yeah, this difference can be noticed. Uh, yeah, if I fill up this gap, then the blue triangle is representing the BP deficit, and this BP deficit is because of what you say the net current account deficit that is emerging in the panel C. Let me tell you, मेरे को FF Y0 थोड़ा सा नीचे बनाना चाहिए था so as कि the triangle अभी भी मैं कर सकता हूँ. What we can do is थोड़ा सा इसमें चेंज करते हैं. I will redraw this FF curve so as the triangle, the surplus generated in capital account is shown lesser than the deficit in the what do we say. Let us suppose this is the FF curve, okay, drawn for some level of income, say Y naught. Fine. If this is the FF curve, yeah, this one would be the surplus in this pink area would be the surplus in capital account that we can generate with this interest rate R naught. R naught interest rate. Okay. Here also interest rate is R naught. At R naught interest rate, we can see that the pink area is the surplus generated in the capital account with Y0 level of income and exchange rate E naught. Okay. However, at this exchange rate E naught and level of income Y naught, there is deficit in current account to the tune of the triangle given in the yellow area. So we can see that this yellow area is greater than this pink area. So there will be some deficit in the overall balance of payment because overall balance of payment is current account balance plus capital account balance. The balance of payment is in deficit, and this deficit is because of higher deficit in the current account and lower surplus generated in the this capital account. So, बच्चों, this is the situation of balance of payment curve. Similarly, a BP surplus can be generated if we increase the interest rate. Suppose we increase the interest rate up to huge level, such as so let us suppose we increase the interest rate up to this level, okay, for level of income remaining same, say this y0. If interest rate will be increased by this amount, then probably what will happen, with E naught exchange rate, yeah, E naught exchange rate, if I will be able to increase rate of interest up to R1, okay, R1, then this much surplus will be added, this much surplus will be added into the capital account, and this much of surplus will be sufficient since exchange rate is remaining same, income is remaining same. It means the current account balance will remain same, that is in deficit still, nx less than 0. So that triangle will remain same, but as the country has increased the interest rate from R0 to R1, we are able to generate more surplus. Now, earlier there was deficit in this pink area was also deficit. Sorry, this pink area to the left side is deficit in capital account. Okay, means if we are to the left of FF foreign flow curve, we are having deficit. If we are to the right side of capital account FF curve, then we will be having surplus. So, but the yellow and pink both were the deficit areas. So, deficit areas were representing BP deficit. Now, since with same exchange rate E node and Y node, the deficit in current account still remains same, represented by the yellow area, but with higher interest rate, means if interest rate will increase from R0 to R1, we are able to generate some surplus in capital account to the amount given by the blue triangle. Okay. Now this surplus is sufficient to counter the earlier two types of deficits, or the counter the deficit which we were bearing, which we are bearing rather in capital current account. Okay, so now this surplus is sufficient to overcome that deficit in current account. So BP curve is we are in the area where we are in the area to the left of BP curve. So say this is point. Earlier we were having point M. Let us have this point as N. So we have managed to shift the economy from point M to point N, where some surplus in capital account has been generated that is sufficient to overcome the deficit in current account, and so the BP greater than 0 positive balance of payment has been observed, which means that we are getting some surplus in the balance of payment. I'm once again repeating that income level is remaining same, exchange rate is remaining same, so BP curve is remaining same, and obviously the current account situation is remaining same. But at N, interest rate is higher than at point M, higher interest rate, more in transfer of capital, more inflow of capital, and because of more inflow of capital, surplus in capital account will be generated, and that surplus will be sufficient to overcome this yellow deficit in current account, and so we can notice some surplus in what we say the balance of payment, the balance of payments, right? Is there any question, students? If you have any question, we can discuss about this adjustment. Once again, I am repeating, to the right side of NX curve, current account is in surplus. To the left side of NX curve, current account is in deficit. Okay. Similarly, to the left of FF curve or below the FF curve, we have deficit in capital account. Okay. To the upper area to the right of FF curve, we have surplus, okay, in capital account. This is surplus in current account. This is, sorry, uh, just a minute. Sorry. Deficit. Okay, NX is less than 0 to the left, and here below the NX curve we have surplus in current account, right? This is deficit in balance of payments. Here we have surplus in balance of payments. Right, Bache? If you have any problem, we may discuss. Bache, this is the four-panel diagram representing the situation of a BP curve. Situation of BP curve, why there arises deficit into the to the right of BP curve, why there arises surplus to the left of BP curve, right? Uh, So after this lecture, in next lecture, we will be discussing the impact of monetary policy on overall equilibrium. So once we have discussed the equilibrium once we have discussed the derivation and situation of balance of payment curve, now let us discuss the equilibrium in for general. Let us discuss the situation of general equilibrium. Okay, let us discuss the overall let us discuss general equilibrium in an open economy. Okay, now in any we have noticed, we have observed three curves in interest rate R and income Y space. These curves are open economy IS, open economy LM, and payments curves. Okay. The, uh, the point at which at which at which these three curves intersect each other is called the point of general equilibrium. Is called the point of general equilibrium, right? Okay. Uh, in simple, in equilibrium, IS open is equal to LM open is equal to BP, balance of payment curve. Okay. Now, this if diagrammatically, if I draw a diagrammatically, so how to derive the equilibrium diagrammatically? So I am having again the interest rate and income space, wherein the three curves will be drawn. Okay, the three curves IS, LM, and BP curves. The origin. We have an IS curve. Okay, now in open economy, IS curve is basically the IS curve is drawn for government expenditure G and exchange rate E. Means G is given as G naught and exchange rate is given as E naught. So it is drawn for given government expenditure and exchange rate E naught. Right? Now closed economy IS curve was derived for only given government expenditure. Exchange rate was not present. But here IS curve is derived with respect to the given government expenditure and exchange rate E naught. If I derive the LM curve in an open economy is derived as like this, a positively sloping LM curve. The LM is derived for domestic credit, given domestic credit DC node, and foreign exchange assets FE node, right? Means earlier LM was derived for means in closed economy LM was derived from money supply. Uh, M that was that contains only domestic credits, but now LM curve is derived for two types for two components for two given components of money supply, that is domestic credits and foreign exchange assets. Okay. Then we have BP curve, balance of payment curve, derived as BP for exchange rate for given exchange rate E naught, right? If you people have any issue, we may discuss. This BP curve is derived for the given exchange rate E naught. If you have any issue regarding the components of IS, BP, and LM, we may discuss. But the point at which these three curves are intersecting each other, that is point E. At the point E at which all these curves are intersecting each other is called the point of general equilibrium. Is called the point of general equilibrium. Okay, it's called the point of general equilibrium. Highest curve is drawn for G node government expenditure and E node exchange rate. Okay, LM curve is drawn in Y in R and Y space for given amount of domestic and domestic credits and foreign exchange assets. There's two components of money supply and balance of payments curve is drawn in R and Y space for given exchange rate. But if this is the derivation, this is the interpretation of the point E, the equilibrium, the general equilibrium of the economy. Since three markets are in equilibrium, the fourth market, labor market, will automatically be in equilibrium as per Walrasian law. Okay, as per Walrasian system. Since it follows the Walrasian system, the ISLM framework and BP framework. So this is called ISLM BP framework. Tomorrow we will be talking about the effectiveness of monetary policy in different type of economies. Then after monetary policy, we will be discussing the effectiveness of fiscal policy in an open economy. Thank you so much. We will be meeting tomorrow. Now I will be taking your attendance.